Welcome to another episode of the Sixth Round from downtown Dallas for MMA Weigh-In. I'm Navid Razi, joined by the pound-for-pound best journalist and MMA, award-winning journalist for MMA Junkie and USA Today, Johny Morgan from the fight capital of the world in Las Vegas, Nevada. And John, what a week it's been for the sport of MMA. Johny Hendricks versus Georges St-Pierre. A lot of controversy following this fight. What else is new? A lot of people thought Johny Hendricks won this fight against Georges St-Pierre, 3 rounds to 2. Georges St-Pierre ends up getting a split decision, and it brings a lot of questions into how judging is done in mixed martial arts. You heard Dana White after the fight say that the Nevada State Athletic Commission was atrocious, and he was scared to bring big fights back to Las Vegas because of how bad the commission was there, and that the governor actually needed to step in and fix this thing. So how did you see this fight going down, John, and was it as bad as Dana White made it out to be?
Well, I'll tell you what's funny is that, I won't disagree that there needs to be something done about judging. I think judges still need to be educated a little bit more and make sure that just everybody's on the same page. So I think some improvement does need to be done there. But what was crazy to me was that this was the fight where Dana White chose to absolutely go off because, to be honest with you, I thought it was a very close fight. I personally scored the fight for Johny Hendricks. I gave him rounds 1, 2, and 4. 48-47 Johny Hendricks. I thought he got it done. That said, I thought round 1 was extremely close. When I was doing the live blogging for MMA Junkie, I had to pause and think about it and kind of relive the round in my mind, and I thought about briefly giving it to St-Pierre. Ultimately, I went with Hendricks. But because of that, I thought it was a very close fight. If you want to call into question the way we judge fights, that maybe you don't like the 10-point MUT system, that's a different argument entirely. But I thought the judges actually did a decent job on this time.
Yeah, it's interesting, John, because we talked about this before. It's crazy to me that the judging has not caught up with current times. And we talked about how damage wasn't included in the verbiage of the rules of judging a mixed martial arts fight. And it is very difficult to... You mentioned this in our show we did last week, that Georges St-Pierre definitely cuts and bruises easily, and it's kind of hard to judge damage in a fight. But when a guy like St-Pierre is getting rocked in 2 of the 5 rounds and clearly wobbled and backing up or falling, how the hell do you not put that into account?
Yeah, that's when you start thinking maybe that the system itself isn't right. Whether it be, I'm not a big fan of the half-point system, just because I think that's one more thing that the judges have to worry about. Maybe some more liberal uses of 10-8s would help. I don't know, because you talk about technology. Fight metric is something that's relatively new to our sport, and it does a fantastic job of giving live stats. Now, I don't know how much emphasis you should put on those live stats or how much faith you should put in them, simply because it's got to be hard to score those things, when you're not watching it back in slow motion. But the other thing is, too, the punch stats, you look at punch stats, and sometimes the numbers are dead on. But, if you told me I had to take one Superman jab from Georges St-Pierre or one left hook from Johny Hendricks, I'm taking that Superman jab 10 out of 10 times. So, sometimes even those numbers don't tell the tale. So, the thing is, I'm not convinced necessarily that the 10-point MUT system is the absolute best thing for our sport, but I haven't heard a whole lot of alternatives that I think are better. And that's the thing. Pride scoring, where you're trying to remember 25 full minutes of a fight, I don't think that's the answer either. I've seen all these suggestions of, more judges, put them in a soundproof booth with television monitors. I don't know. I've heard a lot of suggestions, but none of them really strike me as better. So I think there are still improvements to be made. The biggest thing to me, though, is just educating the judges, making sure they understand the sport. They're looking for the same things. They're looking at the same things, and they're scoring in the same way. I think that's the biggest improvement that needs to be made right now. And, I thought Dana White picked kind of a weird time to go off, because this was just, unfortunately, a close fight. And, something that we didn't mention in the show last week, I think Johny Hendricks deserves a little bit of criticism for maybe not finishing the fight as hard as he could have, and Georges St-Pierre deserves a little bit of praise for finishing the fight like a champion, because ultimately it turns out that 5th round earned him the fight.
That's what I was going to ask you next, John. You heard Georges St-Pierre's corner telling him, go out there and get this 5th round. You need this 5th round. On Johny Hendricks' side, we kind of heard them not really say you had the fight in the bag, but basically said 5 minutes left until you're the champion, which to most people means, hey, you've got this thing won. All you got to do is not get in any trouble in the 5th round. And that was very puzzling to me, John, because if you're Georges St-Pierre's corner, you can say something like that because Johny Hendricks can land that one big shot that will knock you out. For Johny Hendricks' corner, you've taken Georges St-Pierre's best shot. what the hell are you worried about? Just go out there and try to win that 5th round and dominate him. Georges St-Pierre hasn't been able to hurt you in the previous 4 rounds that he's tagged you, so you really have a lot less to be worried about against Georges St-Pierre. But I really think Johny Hendricks' corner kind of did him a disservice, John, and not telling him, hey, go out there and finish this round strong. Even if you already have the other rounds, it's better to win a dominant champion than barely win a split decision.
Yeah, corner psychology is a very interesting argument, man. Sometimes, sometimes guys respond better to the truth. Sometimes they respond better to a lie. You never know. Every athlete's a little bit different. So, I won't pretend to know Johny Hendricks as well as Mark Lehman and those guys know him. So I'll trust that they did the best they can. But ultimately, whether he wants to admit it or not, that 5th round really did prove costly for Johny Hendricks.
Yeah. Last thing, John, Georges St-Pierre hinted at retirement or possibly walking away from the octagon for a little while, at least in the post-fight in the octagon with Joe Rogan. In the post-fight press conference, Dana White was not very happy about Georges St-Pierre's comments, saying that he owed it to Johny Hendricks, he owed it to the fans, and he owed it to the UFC to grant Johny Hendricks an immediate rematch. Since then, the two have talked, and it seems kind of ironed some things out. But do you see this immediate rematch taking place, or will Georges St-Pierre disappear for a year?
No, I think it's going to happen, and I think it probably won't be for a good 6 months or so. But that's about normal for Georges St-Pierre anyway. He's not a fight every 3 months kind of a guy. So I'm thinking maybe around May. The Memorial Day card right back here in Las Vegas with those crappy judges. I think they'll do it in May. And you know what? I'm pretty interested to see it. Obviously, Johny Hendricks is a great dude, and it gives a fantastic interview. So it might be more fun to have him as champion. Not quite as reserved as Georges St-Pierre. But I'll tell you this: I'm interested to see how Georges St-Pierre responds. Say what you will about him. His skills deteriorating. He's getting older, whatever. But that man has looked incredible in every one of his career rematches, and it would be pretty impressive for his career resume if he could come out here and lock down Johny Hendricks.
Yeah, it was funny, John. You almost see the promos getting cut for this rematch in the interviews after the fight, and you heard Johny Hendricks tell Joe Rogan that belt is mine. I won it. I don't care about Georges St-Pierre. I just earned it, and it was taken away from me, and I swear to God that won't happen again.
You should start showing up in public like Chael Sonnen did. Just have like a fake belt over him, man. That'd be a pretty good one.
Exactly. So I actually heard it. I think it was Johny Hendricks' manager say something about they should take the belt from Georges St-Pierre and give it to Johny Hendricks. So a lot of hilarious stuff that you can see coming into play into this rematch, but I'm very excited about this. First, we have Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman as our first rematch of the year, and nice way to cap it off with Georges St-Pierre versus Johny Hendricks. That's going to do it for this episode of the 6th Round from downtown Dallas. Navid, Razi for MMA Weigh-In, award-winning journalist for MMA Junkie and USA Today, John Morgan in Las Vegas, Nevada. We'll catch you next week.